Well, I wanted to thank you hardy people that have hung in here all day. And I first wanted to just make sure that we thank many of the people who made this possible. Dr. Janet Griffin-Graves was a key player in this, as was Ms. Gail Pritchett. They played a big role, and then all of our graduate students who played big roles in helping with many aspects of this conference. So I wanted to make sure that we appreciated their efforts and put that on the record. We also, of course, were pleased that our sponsors were able to help us so effectively. That included the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. It included the Duke University Research Network on Racial and Ethnic Inequality, and the Ron Walters Center, the Leadership and Public Policy Center here at Howard University. And of course, I have to thank my own department, the Department of Economics, for supporting this effort. I just wanted to review a little bit what we did today, because I think it was a quite remarkable event. We began with Bernie Anderson from the Wharton School, who laid out in very bold relief the challenges of racial inequality and the need for work against them. That was followed by Congressman Scott, who laid out a little different picture, which was the challenge of the fiscal cliff and the overall budgetary problem. While sharing the concern of Dr. Anderson, I think he sounded a little bit of a cautionary note about how much could be done. Other panelists then commented on maybe expanding the parameters of the debate to address Dr. Anderson's concerns about racial inequalities. We also took some note of the youth approach to understanding the challenge of criminal injustice in this country, problems of mass incarceration, and the lack of opportunities for youth as a result of the war on drugs. We then went on to our second panel, which covered questions of employment and unemployment, questions of wealth and wealth disparities, and came up with a number of very innovative theories and proposals for how to grapple with some of those things, including ideas about baby bonds, ideas about a federal guarantee for jobs for anyone able and willing to work, some very interesting ideas from the Chicago Political Economy Group about how to finance such things through a Tobin tax. We moved on after a wonderful lunch with Jim Carr and his discussion on housing crises to discussions of education, health, and housing as specific examples of the struggle against racial inequality and disparities within this country. And we ended, of course, with this very poignant session on some of the struggles that also affect our veterans returning from wars and have been affected by these for really generations, but the latest round continues to show the tremendous problems that are not being addressed effectively in this country. So the question then becomes for us, where do we go from here? I think a lot of these policies are things that could be very beneficial to an awful lot of people and narrow the racial wealth gap, the racial, well, the racial, put in whatever word you want, gap. And so the question is, if we want to see these implemented, how do we proceed? Well, of course, as an academic institution, one thing we can do is publish the papers of people who've made these presentations, and that way disseminate some of these ideas in a very broad way. But the second approach, which has been raised by a number of the speakers in different ways today, is that we need to become more active ourselves in developing grassroots or mobilized movements to try to grapple with these issues directly. Whether or not that's going to take the form of supporting particular policy options, or whether it takes an even more revolutionary directions, as some of our speakers suggested, remains to be seen. But I think the idea that was presented by our last speaker was that in all events we need to organize and not only present theories and policy options. So with that, I thank you all for coming, and we look forward to another edition in coming months. Thank you.